In the last session, we were talking about what are services or what are business services. In this session, we are going to learn about one of the business service which is very important for a business, and it is called as the lifeblood of business. The service which is being provided by this particular area is called as the lifeblood of business. We are entering into the business service of banking, which provides finance required for the business. So, what is banking? What is banking? That is what we are going to see. If you are asking what is banking, the best way of explaining what is banking is with the help of a definition, which is given by Banking Regulation Act of 1949. Banking Regulation Act of 1949 thus says banking is accepting for the purpose of lending of investment of deposits of money from public, repayable on demand or otherwise, withdrawal by check, draft, order or otherwise. So, many things are being said in this. So, banking is an activity which is consisting of such a lot of things. It is concerned with accepting of deposits for the purpose of lending, and it is from public, money from public, repayable on demand, withdrawable by check, draft or otherwise. Repayable on demand or otherwise. So, an institution which is performing this activity, which activity? It is the activity of accepting of deposits. Accepting of deposits. So, an institution which accept deposit, at the same time lend money. The deposit which is being accepted is being lent as loans or advances, purpose of lending, and this money is being collected from public. So, an institution which accept deposits, accept money from public through deposits, give it for lending. Not only that, this money is to be repaid, repayable on demand. Repayable on demand. This is to be repaid. When it has to be repaid? On demand. On demand. Customer has to demand. The person who has deposited the money, when he is or she is demanding, it has to be given back. How it has to be demanded? It can be through check, draft, order or otherwise. There is one more word, order or otherwise. So, an institution which is performing all these activities, lending, accepting, they are giving it back when it is demanded, who is receiving the way different methods, check, draft or order, through which when it is demanded it is to be given back. So, an institution which is performing this activities is called a bank, and this function of accepting deposits, lending money and other services, we call it banking. So, banking is an activity whereby money is being given, extended, money is being extended, or the risk or the hindrance of money is being handled by banking. So, that is one of the service which is aiding the business activity by providing them necessary amounts of money for business. So, this is what is called banking, an institution which accepts deposits, lend loans, and it is repayable on demand, and various methods are there for raising money or receiving money or giving money, extending loans. Various methods are there. For example, accepting deposits, basically it can be of 4 types. There is savings deposit, there is current deposit, there is fixed deposit, there is recurring deposits. So, various methods are being used by this institution to attract money from public or to get money from public. Way of accepting is different type, and it is given to the required person, basically to business purposes. It can be in the form of loans, it can be in the form of overdraft, it can be in the form of discounting of bills, it can be in the form of term loans. Various methods are there. So, lending of money. So, an institution which is performing all these activities, we call it a bank, and those functions which are performed are called banking. So, that is what is called the function of banking. Now, we are going to see what are the different types of banks. Different types of banks. First one is commercial bank. Commercial bank. What are commercial banks? Commercial banks are those banks which are regulated by the Banking Regulation Act of 1949, and they are basically accepting deposits, lending loans and providing other services to the customers. And the money they are raising, they are extending it as loans for the needy persons. Even for business firms they are providing. So, commercial banks are those banks which are working under the Banking Regulation Act of 1949, Indian Banking Regulation Act of 1949, which provides loans and which accepts the deposits, or basically they have to perform this function, accepting of deposit and lending of money, and other elite services are being provided. And these banks can be classified into, these commercial banks can be classified into public sector bank and private sector bank. Public sector banks are those banks which are controlled or which are basically owned and operated by government, whereas private sector banks are those banks which are operated, owned and controlled by private parties, private individuals. If you are going in detail, there are lot of classification, but basically we need to know this classification. The commercial banks are classified into public sector banks and private sector banks. Now, we come to cooperative banks. Cooperative banks, we have already learned what is cooperative bank. Cooperative banks are those banks which are guided by the Cooperative Societies Act of 1912 or any other state cooperative act. If it is there, it can be followed. So, Cooperative Societies Act, it is governed by provisions of Cooperative Societies Act, and it is one of the major source of rural credit. Basically, in backward areas where banks may not be functioning that well, those areas this cooperative banks can be of greater importance, or they may gain more importance. So, in that way, when we are looking, we can say that the cooperative banks are basic providers of rural credit. Now, coming on to third type of bank, that is specialized bank. The name itself says what it is. Those which are performing some specialized functions. They are basically, for example, you can say Exim Bank. There is a bank called Exim Bank, Export Import Bank. Basically, they are providing for the purpose of export import purposes. So, that is doing a particular service in a particular area, providing certain particular services. Exim Bank is one. Then again, foreign exchange banks are there. Those are dealing with the foreign exchange. Nowadays, almost all the banks have the rights, but if certain banks are focused to the particular aspect of foreign exchange, again, Industrial Development Bank is there. Earlier, it was a nationalized bank. Now, it has measures are going on for it to become, or it has already almost become a private bank, industrial development bank. It was focusing basically for providing credit for industries or industrial purposes. So, such kind of banks which are providing specialized services, we call it by the name specialized banks. Though those are providing specialized services, and what to say, which normal commercial banks are not in a condition to provide, because it may include a large amount of money and all. So, such kind of banks, so they are also called as development banks. So, specialized banks. Now, we come to central bank. You must be thinking all the rest of the three are in blue color outline. Why it is given in red color outline? Because that is a very important bank regarding a country. Central bank is the apex bank which controls the banking activities in a country. In our country, our central bank is Reserve Bank of India. Reserve Bank of India. This is our central bank. Now, why it is called central bank? Central bank is called so because it basically performs three functions. It basically performs three functions. One, it is the bank which controls and coordinates the banking activities and banking related activities in India, and hence it is called as the Bankers Bank. It is called as Bankers Bank. It is called as Bankers Bank. Another thing, because it is called central bank, is because of the reason that it is handling the funds of government. It is the banker to government. Banker to government. It is the banker to government. That is another reason why it is called a central bank. The third reason is it is the custodian of currency. Custodian of currency. The Central Bank of India is the official custodian, or it is controlling the printing as well as, except 1 rupee note, all the other 1 rupee note and coins, all the currency is controlled, or custodian is central bank. It is making sure the circulation of currency in a country, and it is making sure that there is no inflation and deflation. Everything is going, currency circulation is in balanced way. It is the custodian of currency of a country. So, that is why it is called as central bank. It is called as a central bank. It is a banker's bank, it is a banker to government, and it is the custodian of currency of a country. So, these are the types of banks. Now, what functions do a commercial bank perform? What are the things, or what are the benefits of a bank, or what all things do a bank perform? Now, if you are looking at the functions of bank, you can see in the definition we have seen, Banking Regulation Act definition we can see, I said there are two basic things happening. It accepts deposits, it lend funds. If a bank is to be called so, it has to be surely performing these functions. It has to accept deposits, and it can be as savings, it can be as fixed, it can be as current, and it can be as recurring. Anyway, any of these ways bank can accept deposits. So, accepting deposits is to be performed by a bank when it is called a bank. It has to accept deposit, and it is lending money. This deposit which is being accepted is given as loans, cash credit, overdraft, discounting of bills, through all these methods it is lending money, it is giving money to the persons in need of it. So basically a bank, when it is to be called a bank, has to surely perform these functions. That is why these are called as the primary functions. Primary functions. Primary functions. These are the primary functions of a bank. It has to accept deposit, it has to lend funds. So it is the primary functions. Along with this, banks also provide check facility. When a cash check is given, cash is given to the person who is having that check, or when it is given as a crossed check, when it is given in a firm's name, it is transferred to that particular firm's or person's account. So check facility is there. Remittance of fund. I want to send some fund to another person in another place, or I am transferring money from my account to another account for a particular purpose, paying of bills. All these things is called remittance of funds. I am remitting fund from my account to another account or another bank. So that is also happening. Again, allied service, additional services, the locker facilities which is being provided, purchase of shares, purchase and selling of shares, bill payments, electricity bill or whatever bills which are to be paid. All these things are additional services other than check facility and remittance funds. There are other facilities also provided by bank. All those things are put together as allied services. As it is not the main thing bank is doing, something in addition to what bank is doing, we call it as secondary services, secondary functions. Secondary functions. It is not very surely to be performed by bank. Those are some additional facilities along with the accepting of money and lending of funds. Banks are providing some additional facility, additional functions. Those functions are called as secondary functions. So these are the functions of commercial bank. Now we are moving on to another topic, that is e-banking. E-banking. What is e-banking? E-banking. That's a term which you must be very familiar with. E-banking. E-banking is nothing, it is called internet banking, or it is banking with the help of internet. Using a personal computer and PC and a browser. Using a PC and a browser, you can enter into bank's portal and perform banking activities. You must be very familiar with it. Nowadays, instead of PC, there are mobiles which can be used, tabs or whatever be. Basically, with the help of internet, if we are performing banking functions, if we are making use of bank's portal and performing banking functions, we call it by the name e-banking. We call it by the name e-banking, and it is one of the, what to say, advanced feature which is there in the area of banking, and everything is net coordinated. There is no human operator which is controlling all the queries, all the requirements of everything is web enabled. Everything is web enabled. It is web enabled. It's web enabled banking. So, it is with, as I have said, it is internet banking. With the help of a PC and a browser, we can make use of bank's portal and do banking activities, and it is a web enabled way of performing banking. And if we are looking at what to say, many benefits are there. If you are looking at the benefits of e-banking, you can see that the whole year 365 into 24 into 7, 365 into 7 into 24, 365 days, 7 days of a week and 24 hours you can get. That means irrespective of time or date or whatever be, you can get banking functions, or banking functions are available throughout the time as long as you are in requirement. Whenever, even at midnight, you can perform the banking functions. And even when you are traveling, you can perform banking functions. That is another benefit. Some of the transactions you are able to perform even when you are traveling. So, there is a comfort way of banking, or comfortability level in banking is more when we are using e-banking. And there is a financial discipline because everything is recorded. When you are doing banking through internet, everything goes recorded. And another thing is that what to say, customer satisfaction will increase. Customer satisfaction will increase. They don't have to wait for what to say, going to a bank and wait for those activities which are performed. Everything you can get it at your hands reach. So, that is also another thing, greater customer satisfaction will be there. And what to say, bank can also have some benefits. One is a competitive advantage. If you can extend more and more services through internet, you can have a competitive advantage when compared with other banks. Another thing is that it is not a fact whether branches are available, or what to say, whatever is the requirement of a customer, it is not connected with any branches or anything. Irrespective of branches, irrespective of the place, whatever be, you can have the transaction, or bank can provide the service required for custom. And another thing is that what to say, the amount of work which is performed by each branches can be brought down. Each branches can be brought down. The workload can be brought down as a central database handles all the activities. In that way, e-banking is a benefit. E-banking is a benefit for the customer as well as for the banks. So, that is all about banking services.